a city of contrast, where ancient traditions meet modern aspirations. Lahore, Pakistan, a city that shaped one of the most compelling literary voices of the subcontinent, Bapsi Sidhwa. Born in 1938 in Karachi and raised in Lahore, Bapsi Sidhwa belonged to a small but vibrant Parsi community. Her early years were marked by illness and solitude, yet it was in this solitude that her love for storytelling began to blossom. Living through the partition of 1947 left an indelible mark on Sidhwa. It was an event that would later become the backbone of one of her most acclaimed works. But before she became a celebrated novelist, Sidhwa struggled to find her place in a world that didn't seem ready for her stories. Marriage took her to the United States, but it was her return to Pakistan that fueled her passion for writing. Drawing for her Parsi heritage, personal experiences, and the complex history of the subcontinent, Sidhwa began to pen stories that resonated with universal themes of identity, resilience, and human connection.
So far as Bapsi Sidhwa is concerned, we all know that she has written 5 novels and that she belongs to a great tradition of Pakistani women writers, and particularly those writers who have migrated to America. And her novels like An American Brat, or the Crow Eater, or what do you call it, the Cracking India, which is known as Ice Candy Man here. So, and of course the Pakistani Bride. The titles are self-explanatory. I don't think we do have to do much about it, except one title which has some humorous inferences and humorous references when she titles a novel as The Crow Eater, The Crow Eater, The Crow Eaters. Okay. The Crow Eater, I mean, referring back to her own community, it was humorously labeled to that community. My point is to bring to your notice the central thematic thrust of her novels is the lost soul in the alien culture, the problems of the immigrants, the problems of dual identity, the problems of cultural tensions, and the problems of the agony and anxiety that the soul undergoes in a culture where it is desperately trying to assimilate itself. You know, I had coined a friend when I had coined a phrase when I wrote a paper on Kiran Desai's novel, The Inheritance of Loss. I called it the diasporic quotidian. Their moment by moment life in a culture which is resistant, in a culture which is absolutely different from them in terms of the issues of individual freedom and also certain moral laxity. You have a very great tradition of women novelists from Pakistan, like Durre Aziz Amna, or like Akhtar Jabin, and many more writers who deal with this issue. These are the things that I think you can very easily trace out through your readings, and if this audacity may be allowed through the internet sources. because unfortunately many of us do not believe in writing, in reading the text first and then writing the papers. See, we have the explosion of information about any problem we take up for research, and we are lost like uh, uh, Alice in the Wonderland. I would like to pass on a word of caution to my dear friends, because I hold you so close to my heart, that AI or internet is has placed you in the world of information explosion, and information certainly cannot be equated with knowledge or wisdom. So, my dear friends, we have to locate ourselves, our creativity, our curiosity, and our talents, and our ability to read a text, understand it by ourselves, explain or elucidate it in our own language, in our own terms, and finally arriving at certain conclusion which can have the reflection of your personality. You know, uh, we are losing sight or losing touch of the books these days. Bapsi Sidhwa herself, when she was engaged, she was talking to, or she wanted to explain certain things in the world of writing, original writing. She advised the young writers and young critics to read extensively, to be in touch with the book. Today's internet sources and AI are cutting off our ties with the books. So, my request on this occasion to you is to be in touch with the books and to read it, and of course, you can evaluate and analyze Bapsi Sidhwa there, because I'm reminded of Bernard Shaw's essay when he says that how wealth accumulates and men decay. So in our case, all this information accumulates, and our curiosity and our ability and our talents go rust. I want to I want to protect and whet, sharpen the talents, the critical acumen of my young friends. So please do that.
So Bapsi Sidhwa is one of the most celebrated authors of Indian subcontinent. Has beautifully captured the complexities of identity, gender, history and cultural dislocation in her works. So her novels including Ice Candy Man, Cracking India, Pakistani Bride and American Brat not only explore the fabric of human relationships but also dwells into the historical upfields like the partition of India, defining moments for millions of lives. So Sidhwa's narrative genius lies in her ability to breach borders, be they cultural, national, or emotional. So she crafts characters that embody universal struggles, making her work resonate with readers from different background, diverse background. Her exploration of marginalized vices, particularly women's vices, is especially significant in today's discourse, where gender equality and representation remains crucial issues. So when we talk about or when we see through her literary lens, Sidhwa makes us question our preconceptions and biases. So her storytelling reminds us that humanity transcends the artificial borders that we have created or that we created. So in this increasingly globalized yet divided world, her work offers us as a roadmap to empathy, understanding, and coexistence. I encourage all the participants to dive deeply into her fictional universe and explore the layers of meaning she weaves into her stories. Her works remind us that literature is not just about narrating stories, it's about connecting souls, building bridges, and inspiring change.
Her debut novel, The Crow Eaters, is a humorous yet poignant tale of Parsi life. But it was her 1988 masterpiece, Ice Candy Man, that catapulted her to international fame. Through the eyes of an innocent child, Sidhwa captured the horrors of partition, bringing to light the human cost of political upheaval. Her words gave voice to the voiceless and shed light on stories often overshadowed by grand narratives. Over the years, Sidhwa has received numerous accolades, including the Sitara-e-Imtiaz, Pakistan's highest honor in the arts. But perhaps her greatest legacy lies in the generations of readers and writers she continues to inspire.
Parsi novel in English came into its own in the 80s with the appearance of Bapsi Sidhwa on the literary scene. In Pakistan, in those days, English literature was not available and women writing in English was not available. In this sense, we can say Bapsi Sidhwa is a pioneer in English writing in English in the Pakistan. If Salman Rushdie is Midnight Child, Bapsi Sidhwa is 9 p.m. Why? Because her novel Crow Eaters was published in 1978 and Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children was published in 1981. But as you know, women writers are always neglected, and that's why I think Doris Lessing also got Nobel Prize late in her life, that is when she was 81 years old. While talking about the journey of her writing, Bapsi Sidhwa said she used to think that writers are not human beings, writers are superhuman beings. But once, when she was traveling in the aeroplane, she met one Afghani woman writer, and at that time she realized, oh, human beings are writers. She is very innocent and very honest when she expressed her journey of writing. Her deep-rooted love for her Zoroastrian community is fuel for her writing, and more for the expression, she has chosen the fictional autobiography. This helps us to express her experience as a diaspora, and also she has witnessed the partition. She wanted to express it honestly. One more thing I always enjoy when I read Bapsi Sidhwa's novel, I laugh alone when I am reading her novel. Like Shakespeare, Chaucer, humor is the significant feature of writing. The cultural difference is the reality in almost all countries. Cultural diversity adds color and variety to the human world, but at the same time, this cultural diversity divides the people in various groups. Bapsi Sidhwa has highlighted in all her novel the issue of the cultural difference and problem arising out of it. Sidhwa has depicted cultural differences, how cultural differences creates the most humorous situation. She believes humor brings sense of balance in our life. I don't remember the exact name of the novel, but one humor I remember, that you wanted to make atom bomb and you don't know how to use the deodorants. She believes she is guided more by intuition rather than intellect. Her novel deals with contemporary world, contemporary history. Many novels are written on partition in English, but Sidhwa's novel is different. Sidhwa is the first Parsi writer to write on partition with the Parsi perspective, and therefore Ice Candy Man is the more objective than the other novels. The novel depicts the saga of Parsi community against the traumatic backdrop of the division of India. The Parsi identity confusion is that whether they should show their allegiance to Pakistan or India. Though Parsis were not the victims of partition, their agony was as intense as Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs. In Cracking India, Sidhwa rejects the British and pro Hindu version of history. She rewrites the history. In Rushdie's word, she writes back to center. Partition had changed the map of the world, and she is the witness of violence and bloodshed of the partition. Once the mob mentality takes over, evil surfaces. Otherwise, in normal circumstances, everyone enjoy each other company. But once the mob mentality is there, everyone become the enemy of each other. The main theme she leads in her novel is of identity. People define their identity more and more through religion. As nations, people are becoming poor and poor. People emphasize their religious identity rather than their nationality. She writes in English, yes, and she questions the history, assumptions of contemporary world, Indian society, Pakistani society, and also American society. She tries to give voice to all marginalized people of the third world. In the age of globalization, it is very difficult to categorize some writers, and Bapsi Sidhwa is one of them. She belongs to Pakistan, India, and United States simultaneously, but she likes herself to be described as Punjabi, Pakistani, Parsi woman. Dislocation is a part of the Parsi psyche. As we know, in the 8th century, the exile of Parsi people was forced. They were forced to migrate from Arab. But their second migration was by choice. Consciously, they have chosen that migration. Parsis can survive as a minority anywhere in the world because they are royal to every ruling authority. The novel American Brat is result of Sidhwa's years of living in the United States, which depicts the problem of assimilation. The issue of cultural difference moves from periphery to center in this novel. As people are crossing borders time to time, their sense of patriotism is also changing and must change. As Sidhwa is citizen of many countries, her patriotism is not confined to one country. Multiculturalism as a value of democratic country is getting publicity nowadays. In this age of technology, it is said that world is becoming global village and border are becoming meaningless. It is said that we are global citizen, but ironically, people are dwindling in the symbols. Ironically, ethnicity is becoming last refuge of almost all people in the world nowadays. Fundamentalism is lurking behind multiculturalism, hybridity, and modernism. Recently, we all know what Trump says. America first. So again, we witness that center margin relationship is always unstable. 10 years before, 15 years before, we used to say that margins are dynamic, more powerful, but again, we see the center is becoming more powerful. Ethnicity is becoming more powerful than the nationality. Hybridity, you can't avoid hybridity. Though Trump says America is first, but as Homi Baba say, no nation is homogeneous. Each and every, almost all nations, they are heterogeneous. Homogeneousness is a myth. What is the reality? Hybridity is the only reality. So the literature of diaspora help us to convey the message that we need to accept each other, we need to accept or tolerate each other's culture. Tolerance for each other, tolerance for culture is very necessary for the existence of the human being. Bapsi Sidhwa considers her writing as a spiritual process. Her writing is a new humanistic discourse emerging out of ethnicity which is in flux. Today, entire social milieu is changing because of globalization and technology. Migration has become part of human life. Migration within the country or outside the country. You see, each and every person is mobile now. Culture is traveling, people are traveling. Travel has become the part of our life. Why we travel? We travel for the better life, and everyone want better education, good job, good lifestyle. Her writing help us to develop cross cultural understanding. That's why I like Bapsi Sidhwa's literature. She depicts the harsh reality. She depicts the violence which she has witnessed in the partition. She has depicted the cultural difference. But all these things, when she was explaining in her fiction, she also add various colors of humor because she feels humor brings a balance in our life. It is said that she has that daring. She can add humor, which are very ethnic also. Sometimes you are unable to read that humor, but you enjoy it. When I was doing research on Bapsi Sidhwa, I used to enjoy reading her books, and I remember I have sent her friend request, and she has accepted my friend request.
Bapsi Sidhwa's journey from a young girl battling adversely to a celebrated author is a testament to the power of resilience and the transformative magic of storytelling. Through her words, she has immortalized the struggles and triumphs of the human spirit, ensuring that no story, however small, is ever forgotten.
That the experiences of this Parsi community, on whom the effect of partition was also profound, was taken into account by a writer who is no other than a Parsi herself, Bapsi Sidhwa. She, in an interview, says that I wanted to share how partition affected every single life. It affected my life by taking away my son, and it put me through a grieving period for years, you won't forget it. This is what she said in 2013 at Stanford University. And this is how we see her connected with the sentiment of Parsi community directly. And for the first time in Indian literature, a neglected community in terms of numbers, 0.005% of total Indian population find their expression in Indian literature. From a newspaper called the Indian Express, we come to know that for months after her son's Indian passport was secured, when writer Bapsi Sidhwa was living in post-partition Lahore, would go to the Wagah border in the hope of receiving him. So her life is one of those ripped apart by the experiences of partition. If we look at her own creation, Ice Candyman, we will see that this is an account of partition, where the total narration has been narrated through the lens of a Parsi girl called Leni, who is 8 years old and who, almost like the author herself, is contracted with polio, is seen to be grappling with their survival and their identity in a fractured society during the time of partition. So, Leni is symbolically representative of the whole Parsi community, who find themselves alienated, segregated from the main population, the culture of the majority of India. Here comes the importance of Bapsi Sidhwa, who is purported to serve as a voice for the voiceless, a voice to the marginalized, to the Parsi people. And she has used her pain to confront injustices. She is not just simply a writer, but she is a beacon of inspiration.
Dedicated to Bapsi Sidhwa, a literary icon who reminds us that even the most marginalized voices can echo across the world.